So the other day, one of my clients asked me to look at this recipe because she absolutely loves these banana chocolate chip muffins. And I don't know where she got the recipe, but it's somewhere online and it's the skinny version. So she asked me to look at it to see if it was low glycemic and if it was okay to fit into her meal plan. So I looked at it, and unfortunately it is low fat. It is a healthier alternative to muffins, but I said that I wanted to try to tweak it even more to make it low glycemic and lower sugar, higher protein, because again, low glycemic means that the two are balanced out. And that was just my preheat that is ready to go. So I preheated the oven already at 350. And I wanted to kind of take you through the original ingredients and tell you how I substituted things and how I altered the recipe in order to make it a little bit healthier, in my opinion. So the original recipe called for 1 1/2 cups wheat flour or white flour. Right off the bat, I'm thinking we have to get rid of that and we need to replace with whole grain oat flour. So you can either buy it. Bob's Red Mill is a really good brand. He has everything from quinoa to coconut to oats, oat flour, almond flour, the whole bit. But or you can just buy oats and grind it up in your food processor. It works the exact same. Even if it's not so finely done, that's totally fine. So I would do a direct swap. So 1 1/2 cups for 1 1/2 cups. So get rid of that wheat flour, right onto the oat flour. The second thing is 1 teaspoon of baking soda. I would keep that the exact same. 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I would keep that the exact same. And then it called for 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. No matter what, any recipe that I'm doing, I always add at least 2 times the amount. So I'm going for at least 1 1/2 or 2 tablespoons of the vanilla, just because I love the taste of vanilla. You can't ever have too much. 1 tablespoon of coconut oil. I'm sticking to that because that's very good. 1 egg. So I'm keeping the 1 egg, but I'm going to add an additional 2 egg whites. Because it's just straight protein. So that's a quick way to do that. So I've already put all of these things in my food processor. So everything I've said thus far is in here. It calls for 3 bananas. And I have put 2 1/2 in there because my bananas were fairly large. Again, I didn't wait until they were completely brown. I know a lot of times cooking with bananas have more flavor when they are brown. But like I said in a different post, that the more brown that a banana is, the higher the glycemic index. So you do want to get it fairly unripe. I know that the green bananas are not going to have any flavor to give to a baking recipe. So you do want to get it when it's a little bit yellow, but don't wait until it's completely brown. So I put about 2 1/2 large bananas in there. So if you had medium, go for 3. And the original called for 3 bananas. And the honey. So it originally called for 1/4 cup honey. Now I told her to substitute that with a 1/2 cup of stevia in the raw. So because it's a powder form and you're putting a powder in place of the honey, we need to figure out a way to add some liquid to that to balance out the consistency so the texture isn't all out of whack. So moving on, Greek yogurt was originally on there too. So it calls for 1/2 cup Greek yogurt, and it was calling for the plain Greek yogurt. Now I am going to substitute that with the 000 from Oikos, the vanilla, because it has the exact same sugar content, which is only 6 grams, 15 grams of protein, and I am going to start out with 3/4 cup. So I'm adding 1/4 of a cup on there to balance out that deficit from taking out the honey and not having that liquid texture, and because I put the powder in there. So I'm just adding an additional 1/4 cup Greek yogurt to that original recipe. That is going to increase the protein content again, and again my sugar's not going to go up and everything's good. And then it calls for almond milk. So I always go for the unsweetened vanilla almond milk. Blue Diamond has a very good almond milk, but there's other off brands. It really doesn't matter what brand you get. So I'm going to stick with a tablespoon for now. We can always add if we need to at the very end. So I'll put that in there. And let's see what else. And basically that's it other than the chocolate chips. But I do want to add one other thing that was not originally on this, and that is protein powder. So Physique is a really good whey protein. It's a vanilla. So per scoop is 12 grams of protein. So I'm gonna add 2 scoops in there. And again, we have to watch the texture when we're done with this because we have taken the honey out and we're adding another powder. So we want to make sure that the texture of our muffins stays pretty muffiny, obviously. Okay, so I am not putting in, I have everything in here other than the oat flour, and I'm going to grind that up here. It's going to get loud. About a minute, just make sure it's all combined. Always make sure to scrape the sides as well. If you get done blending, make sure to scrape the sides if it gets all crazy. So I can see right here, it's very liquidy here, and that's because I haven't added the oat flour. And just so you guys know, I didn't show you the coconut oil. If you guys have not baked with coconut oil, you are missing out. You need to replace the other oils for almond or for coconut oil because, and it's a solid. So it's kind of weird to look at if you're used to the other oils and you're like, why in the world is this solid? But it's so much better for you. So get rid of everything else. Stick with the coconut oil. Okay, so now I have my other flour. See, it looks just like regular flour. It's the oat flour. So I'm going to add that in here. Anytime I'm baking, it's kind of like trial and error because something could look good as a batter. It could taste great. And then the second you throw it in the oven, the texture may completely flop. So every time I do this, I just kind of hope for the best. And sometimes it doesn't work out, and then you have to try it again. You have to swap things out and make sure that you get that texture right because with baking, it's all about texture. Okay, here we go. Looks a little bit better. So I was thinking that we were going to have to potentially use the rest of the yogurt to make it a complete cup of yogurt, but I think 3/4 is going to be good. I think this batter looks pretty good. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to make sure I scrape the sides. I won't really have to blend it again. But I am going to, since my oven's already preheated, I'm going to make sure that I spray that muffin pan really well because I'm not using any of the liners. And I recommend using this for baking, Pam for baking. And I'm just going to spray the heck out of these. So let's do that right now. And I get a little crazy with the spraying because I am not one to want to spend all this time formulating this concoction and then you bake it and then it just sticks. So, I mean, I'm not kidding you. I go to town with it. All right. As you can see, this is what it's nice and doughy. So I'm hoping this works out and it bakes well and everything's good to go. So I added a good amount of protein in there. I'd say I probably, with the protein powder, I added, what, 24 grams. I added, with the eggs, that's probably about 30. And then with the additional, so I probably added a good 35 to 40 grams between the yogurt, the eggs, and the protein powder. So, and I took sugar out because we substituted the stevia for the honey. So that was a good substitution. And then as well as the oat flour for the wheat flour. So we made a lot of good substitutions here. So the only thing left is just to taste it. and it tastes great. It tastes exactly like it should. It tastes like banana, it tastes like vanilla, and it tastes like the batter should for a muffin. So the texture is all good. The last thing we're gonna do before we actually put it in there is just to mix in some of the chocolate chips. So I neglected to tell you about the chocolate chips, but I prefer, if you are gonna use chocolate chips, I prefer actually just sprinkling them on the top. That way, if you're trying to please your guests, they have it. But if you're really trying to watch your weight and be good, you can at least just kind of like pluck them off. It's the easiest way. That way it's not all throughout your muffin. But, you know, every now and then we all need to indulge. So Enjoy Life has these mini chocolate chips, and minis go a long way. So I always recommend people to try this. Sorry, my fingers are all battered up. But the Enjoy Life brand, and basically I recommend these because it's dairy-free, nut-free, and soy-free. So if you're gonna do chocolate chips, try to go for the Enjoy Life brand. So it calls for a half a cup. Again, I'm just gonna sprinkle it throughout, and I will get my half cup out here, but sorry guys. Tastes good though. So I'll probably do, and this is what these little guys look like. They're so darn cute. So I'll put those in there. I didn't do a whole half cup. I did probably about a third a cup. And I'm gonna mix that in with my batter. Not a lot, but then again, here's what the batter looks like, okay? So I am going to pour them in, and then I will let you guys know what it looks like, but I will attach the original recipe and my recipe that tweaked it, and I'll show you where everything was swapped out. So if you have a recipe that you are really in love with, but you know that it probably needs a little tweaking for it to be lower glycemic, lower fat, lower sugar, higher protein, whatever the case may be, please reach out to me because I need more inspiration to keep cooking. I mean, way back when I was in here every single night, whipping out recipe after recipe, and sometimes you get in a rut and I just kind of got bogged down in other things. So if you guys do have a recipe and you want me to tweak it, I would love to tweak it. So send it on over and I will keep you posted on how these muffins turn out.